Thank you for joining us on the news. I'm Ruth Aguele. My sign language interpreter is Anna Olainka. Remember, you can watch this news on different social media platforms, our social media platforms displayed on the screen. Right now, let's start with the headlines. United Nations advocate for concerted efforts by the federal, state governments in addressing the humanitarian concerns in the Northeast. Former President of Gabon, Ali Bongo, and his two sons embark on hunger strike to protest their sequestration and alleged acts of torture against family members. And NTA says it's leaving no stone unturned in key sectors by leveraging artificial intelligence with necessary protection to avert loopholes that will lead to sabotage. President Bola Tinubu has reiterated his administration's resolve to continue to support gas development and utilization in order to support Nigeria's economic growth. The president said this as he inaugurated 3 gas projects located in Delta and Imo states in a hybrid event. We'll bring you details in subsequent bulletin. From the National Assembly, Senate has approved a $500 million loan request for the Bureau of Public Enterprise for the purpose of metering the nation. The approval, as requested by the President, is under the 2022 to 2024 External Borrowing Rolling Plan, as recommended by the Senate Committee on Local and Foreign Debt and adopted by the Senate. Terms and conditions from the funding agency should be forwarded for concurrence and documentation. The $500 million loan is from the World Bank to improve the financing and technical performance of distribution companies under the Nigeria Distribution Sector Recovery Program. In other news, the organized labor has rejected 48,000 naira national minimum wage. It says the federal government is proposing, that's what the federal government is proposing for Nigerian workers. Well, President of Nigerian Labour Congress, Joseph Ajero, and Deputy President, Trade Union Congress of Nigeria, Tommy Okon, made this known to newsmen in Abuja after representatives of the organized labor walked out of the tripartite National Minimum Wage Committee meeting. They say the proposal brought forward by representatives of the government falls short of the needs and aspirations of workers. The labor leaders have given the government 2 weeks to reconsider its position and come back to the negotiation table with a wage that reflects current realities in the country.
So what do you now want? Okay, you want us to now say there will be no medical allowance, or there will be no housing, or there will be no transport. So they have not even provided the basis. You just say 48, and we say, what is this 48 for? And they are not ready to talk. As we talk now, the Bureau of Statistics in Nigeria is saying that a meal is 900. Why we make proposal for 500? That's a government agency. So these are things that we expect them to confront us with.
It's proposing 615,000 naira national minimum wage, which it says is based on evidence and data collated. We turn back to legislative affairs. The House of Representatives has called on the Ministry of Transportation to commence the construction of the rail line from Itakpe in Kogi State to Abuja, the nation's capital. Lawmakers at Wednesday's plenary expressed displeasure over the non-execution of the contract 3 years after it was awarded. The House mandated its Committee on Land Transport to investigate the cause of delay in executing the contract and report back to the House within 4 weeks.
To urge the Ministry of Transport to ensure immediate execution of the contract that was awarded in this respect. 2, mandate the Committee on Land Transport to investigate the reasons for the non-execution of the contract and ensure immediate execution of it. That's the Takbe to Abuja rail line. Also mandate the Committee on Legislative Compliance to ensure compliance.
The federal government has launched the disbursement of $250,000 World Bank-supported Community Revolving Fund for Smart Agriculture in Jigawa State. Mohammed Musa Askira reports that Governor Umar Namadi, during the launch, urged beneficiaries to utilize the loan to improve their livelihoods and the economy of the state.
10 communities have been selected as beneficiaries, and all of them are those that suffered from devastating floods of the past years. As a pilot program, the Community Revolving Fund is believed to go a long way in helping the beneficiaries recover from their previous losses. The Agroclimatic Resilience in Semi-Arid Landscape team, led by the Commissioner for Environment, says the World Bank-supported Community Revolving Fund is in line with the 12-point agenda of the state government. As such, they will ensure the success of the program in the state.
The CRF is meant to enhance agricultural productivity, food security, and rural development, which further aims at educating our farmer groups in climate-smart agriculture and access to markets.
Proper management of the community, government concept by the communities serve as an innovative effort and effective technology plan, even beyond the lifestyle of agricultural projects.
Governor Umar Namadi, after launching the distribution of the loan to the benefiting communities, urges the steering and technical committees as well as the Agrisal coordinating unit to ensure beneficiaries are thoroughly sensitized on the loan to avoid actions that may jeopardize the revolving fund.
This is an opportunity that we cannot be able to play with it. Like we said, one of our 12-point agenda is to ensure that the people of the grassroots are empowered, are also made to feel they are part and parcel of Jigawa State. They are also being able to improve their economic status so that they can stand on their own.
Jigawa is one of the northern states to benefit from this World Bank-supported program targeting at improving the economy, productivity, and living conditions of villagers. From Dutse, Muhammad Musa Askira, NTA News.
Effective sharing of information among security agencies has been identified as a way of combating terrorism financing, particularly in the northeast region. Well, this was the submission of participants at a national dialogue on preventing terrorism financing and violent extremism holding in Abuja. Mohammed Rabiu Ali reports.
The concern about financing of terrorist activities in the country, especially in the northeast, have triggered unfavorable indices from 2023 Global Terrorism Index. With the effort of the security architecture in the country, success stories have been recorded in many areas. These engagements put together by CISLAC, Transparency International, and GIABA ECOWAS is to find workable mechanisms that will track terrorism financing that is of concern to the country.
We know that our security men and women have been working very hard to ensure that they curtail the effect of terrorism in this country, but also the citizens need to also contribute by providing credible information and also staying away from being recruited to commit such kind of atrocities.
Almost all the security challenges we have is a product of corruption. Almost all of them are product of economic and financial crimes. If we help them, we will address major percentage of the crisis we face, be them in security or be them in terms of development.
Other contributors called for strengthening of national border surveillance to prevent the inflow of funds and resources for terrorist activities.
Part of the focus of EFCC in the quest to tackle terrorism and violent extremism in that region is to follow the fund trail of critical actors in the region and cutting off the supply line of illicit funds to non-criminal groups. While we continue to
congratulate and encourage the efforts of the security services in Nigeria for decimating Boko Haram, but it's not completely gone. We still have a lot to do, especially with the recent move by Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso wanting to leave ECOWAS.
Experts say no to violence, but dialogue and discussions among various stakeholders is the key to success. In Abuja, Muhammad Rabiu Ali, NTA News.
The United Nations is advocating concerted and coordinated efforts by the federal and state governments, humanitarian and development partners, donors, as well as the private sector in addressing the humanitarian crisis in the northeast. Chukunonso Mwambweze reports that this was at the launch of the 2024 lean season food security and nutrition crisis multi-sector plan for Adamawa, Borno and Yobe states at the UN House in Abuja.
This year's launch, the United Nations Resident and Humanitarian Coordinator for Nigeria, Mohammed Malik IV, said is to galvanize global and local support in raising $306 million to meet the humanitarian needs of 2.8 million people, particularly children, pregnant and lactating mothers and other vulnerable groups in Adamawa, Borno and Yobe states.
700,000 children under 5 across the 3 states are also projected to be acutely malnourished during the lean season, including 230,000 who are expected to be severely and acutely malnourished and at high risk of death. They need immediate and coordinated intervention.
Federal and the 3 state governments, while lauding the initiative for complementing Nigeria's efforts at tackling food insecurity and other economic challenges in the country, reaffirmed their commitment to the success of the plan.
The mobilization of funding and resources by the UN OCHA to address this lean season food security and nutrition crisis envisaged in the northeastern part of the country is a step in the right direction in complementing federal government's efforts to prevent death of people as a result of malnutrition-related complications, adoption of negative coping mechanisms, and other health-related issues, amongst others.
I trust this launch will further provide perspectives towards addressing food and nutrition crisis in the base states.
We are open to supporting the UN and other partners to mobilize critical funding and resources to further address the food insecurity and malnutrition crisis in Yobe State.
Our governments are ever ready to ensure that we partner with all of you to bring support to our people, because healthy children mean healthy citizens and productive citizens at the end of the day.
With the availability of the required resources, the initiative is expected to mitigate the impact of food insecurity, malnutrition, as well as health and sanitation on the target population within the next 6 months. Chukunonso Mwambweze, NTA News.
The European Union is seeking more ways to advance Nigeria's security perspectives to reinforce its role in regional and continental peace and stability. During engagement with partners, the forum focused on how to strengthen partnerships that will place Nigeria in the forefront of the global security environment, which was actually the theme for the event. Kelvin Ehunwahi reports.
As the biggest democracy on the African continent, Nigeria is a key player in both regional and continental levels. But security challenges have been one of the nation's drawbacks in recent times. However, the EU believes that its agenda for peace and security in West Africa will be propelled better if Nigeria is helped to play its leadership role effectively. With an already existing areas of cooperation in defense and security between Nigeria and the EU, in maritime security and support for the multinational joint task force in the Lake Chad Basin, the successes of those endeavors will now act as springboard for further collaboration for counter-terrorism and cyber-security efforts.
When it comes to security and global dynamics, the role of Nigeria in Africa and globally is unquestionable. Nigeria is for us a strategic ally and has developed a significant experience and leading role on key security matters, including on 2 of the topics that will be discussed today and in Brussels: counter-terrorism and maritime security in the Gulf of Guinea.
In the maritime domain, transnational organized crimes such as piracy, sea robbery, and illegal oil bunkering, unreported and unregulated fishing used to pillage Nigeria's waters and the Gulf of Guinea at large. In recent times, maritime crimes have been drastically reduced, leading to the delisting of Nigeria from piracy-prone countries, as well as countries paying war insurance premiums.
The outcomes of this engagement will form the core of EU and partners' submission in the forthcoming Schuman Forum in Brussels, Belgium. In Abuja, Kelvin Ebonwaye, NTA News.
Let's take a break. We'll be back in a moment. Good to have you there. Edo state government will leverage the years of diplomatic ties with the Swedish government to create more avenues to boost opportunities in education, cultural exchange, and other areas that will impact youths. Governor Godwin Obaseki was speaking when he received the Swedish ambassador and head of mission to Nigeria at the government house. Let's hear from Goodluck and Annie.
Economically, Sweden is ranked 6th out of 44 countries in the Europe region and is considered most free according to the 2024 index. The level of creativity and innovation in Sweden is one area that attracts the governor's interest. He says Edo State is most strategically located in Nigeria and therefore has its comparative advantage in different areas, including transportation and energy. He highlights government's efforts in job placement and other areas of bilateral cooperation in education and cultural exchange.
So we look at, forward towards the opportunities that we can work with you on. I mean, looking at your background in the Foreign Service, you fortunately have done a lot of work on bilaterals. Mm-hmm. So it would be nice to know what sort of bilaterals exist with, between Sweden and Nigeria at this point in time, particularly in the areas we've talked about: educational exchange, cultural exchange programs, things that will support young people.
Yeah. The visit is aimed at boosting the diplomatic and business ties with the government of Edo and Nigeria, leveraging on the presence of over 40 Swedish companies offering services in areas of transportation, energy, ICT, mining, and healthcare. She says Swedish government is seeking further areas of collaboration in addressing the issue of irregular migration.
Before coming here, we asked the Swedish companies what they felt, what their interests were, and they very much coincide with the areas that you mentioned. We are happy to see a number of students from Nigeria coming to Sweden to study.
The visit climaxed with exchange of gifts between the visiting Swedish delegation and Edo State government. In Benin, Goodluck Inaini, NT News.
On the judiciary scene, the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory sitting in Abuja has granted bail to the former governor of Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, to the tune of 300 million naira and 2 sureties in like sum in another 4 counts charge preferred against him. The presiding judge, Justice Marian Aneni, gave the order in a ruling on the bail application filed by the defense counsel in the matter. Emefiele was rearraigned before the court on 4 counts charge, which borders on unlawful printing of naira notes and unapproved withdrawal of funds. The former governor of Central Bank, who is being prosecuted by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, pleaded not guilty to all the counts and filed for bail through his counsel, Mahmoud Magaji, SAN. The bail conditions are the same as the one granted by Justice Hamza Muazu of the same court, except that the defendant will not travel outside the country without the permission of the court. Justice Aneni adjourned the case to 28th and 29th of May for the commencement of trial. Media owners in Nigeria have been encouraged to key into the federal government's renewable energy initiative and develop alternative power sources to cushion the effects of fuel subsidy removal. Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, engaged Independent Broadcasters Association of Nigeria and pledged government support to media in Nigeria. Salihu Gwanara reports.
Media has remained critical and inevitable in the development of any society. This is to build cordial relationships between the government and independent media operators with the desire to use their platforms to complement effective information dissemination.
Media platforms.
Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, reiterated efforts by the federal government in remodeling the business model of the digital switchover project, domestication of adverts production, and profiling of foreign media that are operating in Nigeria.
The Minister of Information and National Orientation under my leadership has as its core pillar supporting all media platforms in this country, whether they are public or private. The President has already directed that the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment look at the possibility of giving loans to media organizations as single-digit interest. I think you need to take advantage.
We are also suggesting that host communities must be carried along by the government in ensuring that some of these adverts that comes from agencies in Lagos should take the sensitivities of the local communities. You can imagine some states, agencies will now prefer to give to foreign brands. I think, sir, that is against the local content policy.
Independent Broadcasters Association of Nigeria reaffirmed commitment to be credible partners in developing Nigeria's media landscape. In Abuja, Saliu Gwanara, NTA News.
The National Information and Technology Development Agency, NTA, says it is leaving no stone unturned in key sector development, leveraging artificial intelligence with necessary protection and checks to avert loopholes that will lead to sabotage. Director General NTA Kashifu Abdullahi affirmed this at a media parley to further seek collaboration with the fourth estate of the RAM in the digitization drive of the federal government. ICT correspondent Olajide Bello reports.
There is this craving for engagement, interactions, so many questions. We are still not satisfied. So we are here today to strengthen the bonds, the relationship that exists between media and our media friends.
Hadiza Umar, the Director Corporate Affairs and External Relations there, setting the tone for discussions at the parley. Top on the agenda is the approval by the Federal Executive Council requesting the Ministry of Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy to convert the property at 324 Jackson Street, San Francisco, USA, into a Nigerian Digital Technology Exchange Program hub.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is big and loud when it comes to economic reform, national security, agriculture for food security, enabling environment, accelerating diversification of economy, and many more. Technology can empower those sectors, technology can improve productivity, and technology can increase economic output across all critical sectors.
The captain of the National Information and Technology Development Agency, Kashifu Abdullahi, says Internet of Things is also being given priority with plans to launch a demo farm driven by technology to irrigate, control humidity, and digitally monitor activities on the farm as a pilot test to boost food production.
We are working with the Minister of Education to review the curriculum across our formal education from nursery to universities so that we can infuse digital literacy in our formal education.
The essence of doing that is so that when we improve our processes, when we become more efficient, we are going to improve our service delivery, and improving our service delivery, we are sure that we are going to meet our stakeholders' expectations.
The theme for the Media Parley is expanding exceptional media relations, strengthening bonds beyond headlines. Olajide Bello, NTA News.
Former President of Gabon, Ali Bongo, and his two youngest sons, Jalil and Bilal, have started a hunger strike to protest their sequestration and alleged acts of torture against family members. Their lawyers announced this, stating a lawsuit has been filed in the Paris Judicial Court. Details with Justin Bem-Onyi.
Lawyers Francois Zimeri and Catalina de la Sota aim to have a French judge investigate these allegations, especially as Gabon's leader since the August 2023 coup, General Brice Oligui Nguema, plans to visit Paris soon. An earlier complaint by Ali Bongo's wife, Sylva Bongo, filed on September 1, 2 days after the coup, was dismissed in October. The new complaint alleges illegal arrest, aggravated sequestration with torture, and barbaric acts against Ali, Sylvia, and their sons Nuruddin, Jalil, and Bilal, noting that the first four are French nationals. The lawyers claim Nuruddin has been tortured multiple times and Sylvia was beaten and forced to witness these acts. Ali, Jalil, and Bilal are under house arrest, deprived of communication, and also tortured. In March, the lawyers requested a UN working group to recognize the Bongo's arbitrary detention post-coup. General Nguema, who ended 55 years of the Bongo dynasty, was declared transitional president by the military shortly after the August 30 coup. Justin Bem-Onyi, NTA News.
And just before we go, let's find out how Thursday's weather will look like. That concludes the news. Thank you for your time. I'm Ruth Aguele. My sign language interpreter is Anna Olainka. Bye.